Great. Well, welcome and good evening, everyone, to an exciting moment for Pittsford, the kickoff of our community solar program. I'm Bill Smith. I'm the town supervisor. I'm here tonight with our partners in community solar from Joule Assets and Roctricity. And I just wanted to say a few words at the outset about this. This is something that follows on decades of devotion of the Pittsford Town government to the environmental and sustainability issues. And this is an important next step for the community. It's a next step that enables you to be able to save guaranteed savings on your electricity bill as a participant in community solar. In addition, by participating, it generates contributions to a sustainability fund for more environmentally friendly projects in Pittsford, along the lines of some of those that you may be familiar with already, such as the solarizing of our lodges at Kings Bend Park, the electronic vehicle charging stations, and other environmental initiatives. So sit back, relax. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions. First, we'll have the folks from Joule and Roctricity describe the program, how you can participate, and its benefits. Folks?
Thank you, Supervisor Smith. My name is Ben Freevert, and I'm joined by Victor Melendez from Joule Community Power and Sue Hughes-Smith, also from Roctricity. And we're going to run through a presentation this evening to talk about the energy programs in the town and village of Pittsford. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. So give me just a second here to try to do that right. Okay, is that showing up all right?
It is to me, yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this program is coming under the moniker Monroe Community Power, and that's important because you can find more information at monroecommunitypower.com. And we'll touch on this a number of times as we go through the presentation. As I mentioned, I'm with Roctricity. That's the local program manager. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means. And Victor Melendez from Joule Community Power, they are the program administrator. We'll expand on that just a little bit. And of course, the program involves the town of Pittsford and the village of Pittsford. And this presentation really is aimed at those two communities. But as you'll see when we go through this, that it also involves the town of Irondequoit. And we'll explain just a little bit about that partnership. So what we'd like to cover this evening is a little bit about the partnership, as I mentioned. What is community choice aggregation and what is community solar? And this is a first of many times that I'll say these are two different programs, but they work together. So we'll talk a little bit more about what they are and how they're related. But what we really want to talk about is the community solar. That's the one we're focusing on this evening. And so we'll share with you some of the benefits of community solar. And then we'll talk a little bit about some case studies. These are other places in the state that have implemented community solar in the same fashion, and talk about some of the benefits that they have seen. We'll tell you about next steps, most notably how to enroll in the program so that you can enjoy the benefits. And then we've got some time set aside for question and answer, and we'll start that out by running through some frequently asked questions that we get, and then we'll have some time so that participants can ask questions, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get there, about how you can ask questions of the panel that's here. So let's jump in and talk about the partnership. So Monroe Community Power is not a company; it's just the name put to this program with the communities of the town of Brighton, the town of Irondequoit, the town of Pittsford, and the village of Pittsford. And I think you'll see, as we talk about community choice aggregation in particular, why it's helpful for the communities to work together. But there is some flexibility there. They're not all implementing the program in the same fashion or the same timing, but all are involved in Monroe Community Power. The administrator for the program, as I've mentioned, is Joule Community Power. And they're really the company that is authorized by the state to administer community choice aggregation and associated community solar programs for municipalities throughout the state. And then, as I mentioned, I work for Roctricity, and we are a local company. We're Rochester-based. We live right here in the community, and we are doing the local program manager role, and that involves taking the lead on some of the public outreach and informing the community about these programs and the timing of the programs, and fielding questions. So as we go through this, you'll see our phone number pop up a few times and some other avenues to get in touch with us if you have questions moving forward, or you just want to learn about the status of the program at some future date. So again, back to this point about there being two programs. These programs are really being implemented from the state level, or enabled from the state level and implemented at the local level. It's all part of the state's plan to achieve 70% of our electricity produced by renewable sources by 2030. That's a key metric that we're targeting. And the two programs, community choice aggregation, and here you'll notice it says community distributed generation. That sounds a little different, of course, but that really is community solar. That name, community distributed generation, is the name that the Public Service Commission and the state uses, and is a bit more inclusive, more than community solar. But what we're targeting is community solar. So if you hear us use that term, community distributed generation, know that we're really talking about community solar. So when these programs are implemented at a local level, they really work very closely together. And I'll just point out some of the differences. The community choice aggregation is an opt-out program. That means that if we get to the point of implementing CCA, and again, we're not there yet, market conditions aren't quite allowing us to do that just yet, but we anticipate this program is coming. And that it's an opt-out program means that if you don't want to participate, you need to take an action to opt out. We are targeting the program to be 100% New York State renewable energy, and to provide a cost savings opportunity at a low fixed rate. Community solar, on the other hand, as we're implementing it here, is an opt-in program. That means that if you want to participate in community solar, you've got to take an action to opt in. And we'll touch on how you can go about doing that if you want to opt in. This can support local community solar efforts. There's a guaranteed savings with community solar, which is a benefit. And participating communities can earn money toward sustainability projects by implementing community solar. The programs work together to reduce carbon emissions and reduce electricity costs for consumers, and it puts some consumer protections in place too, which we think is valuable as compared to engaging in one of these sorts of purchasing avenues outside of a CCA program. So what is community choice exactly? And again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we really want to talk about community solar. But community choice aggregation is a policy that was put in place by the Public Service Commission, division of New York State's government, in 2016. And they put the regulations in place so that municipalities can adopt this program and aggregate usage within the community. That is to pool the demand for energy, and to use that bulk bargaining power to negotiate contracts with the help of an administrator, to negotiate contracts that are really beneficial to the customers, more so than the current means that allows customers to sign up only by submitting to the contracts that are put in place by the third-party suppliers. So that we see as a real benefit. And these programs can help customers to save money, transition to clean energy, and as I mentioned, offer some consumer protections. So this is just a very quick description of community choice aggregation. This is not the program that's being implemented at the moment, but we're monitoring the market conditions very closely, and when things change and it is a beneficial time to pull the trigger and put CCA in place, we'll be working closely with the municipalities to do this. But what we really want to talk about is community solar. And so here I want to turn things over to Victor Melendez from Joule Community Power to talk about community solar. So there you go, Vic, take it away.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much for that presentation. And to reiterate a little bit of what Ben said, it's very important not just to look at this one program in isolation of the efforts that your municipalities are taking to pursue renewable generation of energy. And so we looked at community CCA, the CCA program, and then this, albeit a different program, work in conjunction with the CCA program as the municipality is pursuing that. But I want to take it from a bird's eye view first, and that would be looking at a community solar project and what does that really mean? So in general, it's a mid-sized renewable generator. And what it is equating to, so if you can have a visual of this, is about 400 to 800 rooftop installations. So you can imagine sprawling neighborhoods with 400 to maybe 800 houses with solar installations put on top of it. That's what this concentrated area of community solar farm development is. What's the purpose of this is that it helps us increase access to the benefits of renewable energy for residents who do not own their own properties, for residents who may not be able to build on the existing property that they own. They are also able to access these things through a community solar farm structure. What brings organizations like Joule Community Power and our partnership with Roctricity, and then our further partnership with the municipality, what brings us to the table is that community solar farm developers unto themselves tend to have a major challenge in acquiring customers, the cost of acquiring customers, reaching out to customers, engaging them to subscribe and support the development and the generation of renewable energy at the farm that they're working on is very difficult. And so they develop and reach out to organizations that seek to represent the best benefits for the municipality, like what Joule does in this situation. And then for this specific dynamic, we reached out to Roctricity and engaged with them to further make sure that we're doing the best job we could to represent what the municipalities, what your communities, what your towns and villages are looking to achieve while pursuing these goals. Next slide. Thank you. So I treat this slide like a 101. This is a community solar 101. How does it work? In a nutshell, you subscribe to a share of that solar farm. The solar farm then, as it produces energy, renewable energy, solar energy, it feeds it back into the utility grid. While that is happening, you are earning credits on your bill. Those credits represent the efforts and the support that you're showing toward the generation of renewable energy. The reason why I said that so specifically is that we often get questions of when that solar power is generated, is it feeding directly back into my home? Are there wires connected directly to my home? Those are all valid questions, valid concerns. But what it is that that energy is actually being fed right back into our utility grid. And then for your support of those efforts, you are provided credits on your bill and you're provided, and that's where that savings is realized. You purchasing these energy credits at a discounted rate will reduce your bill on average 10% over the year. So it's collective. That means that throughout the entire year, you'll see a fluctuation of up and down based on season, solar energy, temperature, your usage. But on average, we've seen we've seen a 10% discount in the overall bill, or 90% on the dollar, or 90 cents on the dollar. And the last piece that's significant about this is, and this is number 4 on this slide, is that at the current time, there are 2 bills that you'll receive. The first one is the bill that you're used to. It's the RG&E bill. It is your utility bill. You'll see a credit show up on that bill. The next bill that you'll receive is from the solar farm, the solar provider, And on that bill, there will be a amount that represents roughly 10% less than what your usage was, and that what was credited on the RG&B. Combine those two combined, you'll be paying that second bill. Those two combined will show where your savings are realized. And this fluctuates. This will fluctuate, but that's the overall quick 101 on how it works. And we'll answer in our Q&A, we go a little bit more into detail on this point. I didn't want to get too far into it. Some honorable mention components of this all is that you cannot subscribe to a community solar farm if, number one, if you have solar panels already on your home, you're already accessing solar power, which is wonderful. You're already supporting the generation of solar energy, so you cannot subscribe into a solar farm and access it twice. The other part of it is that if you are already subscribed to an existing solar farm, if it's a different solar farm, you cannot enroll in this specific program or any other kind of solar farm for that matter, because you're already accessing it. Thank you. I just want to highlight some of the benefits, just in a very simple follow-through pattern. Who can access this program? This program is available to residences. It's available to small businesses in the community. The savings that you realize is on an annual basis, so that a projection of approximately 10% is an annual estimate. Your participation in the program supports the generation of local renewable energy. Some questions we also receive is the utility, well, the answer to that is the utility is still responsible for delivery of your energy. Is also responsible for maintenance, street maintenance, wires, etc. Everything having to do with delivery of electricity, your utility is still responsible for that. That is not shifting to another party. This is, as Ben mentioned earlier, a opt-in program. A simpler way to process that is that this is subscription-based. So you actively choose to enroll in the program, and in enrolling in the program, you're supporting the generation as well as realizing savings for yourself. No rooftop panels are required to participate in this program. There is no sign-up cost. There is no cancellation fee related to this program. What we do ask for at most is patience, because in the enrollment process, it takes a while for allocation of credits, as well as in the disenrollment or leaving the program. There's also going to be time to allow all of that to line up appropriately for it to come out. It doesn't happen overnight. We spent a lot of time working on making sure that there are no fees related to this and vetting the solar providers that we work with in order to provide a higher level of customer protection. These are, and when I say we, I'm speaking of the Joule Assets, Joule Community Power Team, Roctricity, your municipalities. We work together to make sure that these things are in place to provide the best service that we can. One of the fun parts about this is that for every enrollment, every resident that enrolls in the program, $50 is allocated toward a sustainability fund. And so what that means very clearly is that there's a sustainability fund that is going to be accumulating for all of the communities, as the village of Pittsford, the town of Pittsford, the town of Arundecoy. These communities will all have their own bucket of funds that are raised based on residential participation. And that money can be used to support and develop a sustainable project in the community at the discretion of the municipality. This is not something that either I, as a representative of Joule or Roctricity, designate as a project. This is something that is community driven or municipality declared as something that is going to benefit the community as a whole. And we love this part of it. And there's some slides that you'll see momentarily to show some successes in other community and to hopefully spur some creative thought about things that could be used for those funds. Next slide. Another thing that comes up that's really important to mention is what are the actual farms in our area? Now, I always lean on Ben on this section because as I'm still learning the area, I see these names, but I know that all of you, when you look at these names, you register a geographic association here. So Ben, could you give me some placement for some of these farms?
Well, yeah, these are absolutely, these are all in the vicinity. I mean, I think that most people looking at this presentation now, if you live in the greater Rochester area, you know where these places are roughly. Spencerport and Macedonia, Bloomfield and Williamson. These are nearby places. These are likely solar fields that you could go take a drive on a Sunday afternoon or something and see these, assuming they're not shielded by trees. I know a lot of installations, they actually try to shield them using trees, but if they're not shielded, community members could go take a drive past these facilities and see where their energy is coming from.
None of these locations have been cited in agricultural districts. I believe one of the locations are not on prime soil and the other ones were not cited for any major developments. Also moving forward as a declaration on our side, on the Joule side, as we prospect other solar farm locations, we have set it as a quota that developments that occur on prime soil or within agricultural districts are partnerships that we're not pursuing to support that. This slide represents that these efforts are not happening in isolation. The Monroe Community Power Partnership is not the only partnership occurring and succeeding in the New York State footprint. We have Rockland Community Power, Hudson Valley Community Power, which is a collection of multiple counties, Dutchess County, Northern Westchester, a little bit of Putnam, Orange County for those who may register with these. Geneva Community Power is the most local to you all, that's most familiar, and they have a great success story for work that was done last year. So this represents that this is an effort statewide. Highlighting a couple of case studies about the success that occurred. Geneva Community Power did a community solar rollout campaign. They set a goal of 400 enrollments and pushed campaigning, community engagement, social marketing strategies. And with those efforts, were able to complete all of the enrollments within their set goals, raising $25,000. The 15% of residents that opted into the program represent the 15% of the total amount that were engaged through mail campaigns. So that's how that percentage, that number came from. What they were able to use those funds for were to invest and do a matching grant to work toward watershed restoration projects and protecting the lake. So that was a wonderful success for them. They were very happy with it. I want to share another case study that's moving further south in the state. This represents two different case studies. One, and really what these slides are showing, and for those listening, what these images portray is different uses for the same type of funds that are driven by enrollment in the community solar program. So we have the town of Marbletown in Ulster County. They were able to raise $9,000. And this is from when I took the footprint. There are still enrollments occurring, so those numbers tend to tick up. But they used those funds to do an extended walking and biking trail for a legacy trail that connected multiple communities. And they had a gap on their footprint, and they were able to make that connectivity and put money in toward further developing that, which is really exciting. The city of Beacon in Dutchess County raised about $10,600. They were able to use those funds to further develop and realize a school sustainability education program that they had been trying to get off the ground for quite some time. What has happened more recently with that program is that they were able to partner with a BOCES system, and they have now expanded and spread the program, reinforced what they were trying to do, but now they're trying to replicate it in different counties. So us being able to help with that and just support their efforts and their dreams is realizing even more yield, which is really exciting to see. Another example of how communities have accessed these funds for sustainable efforts or just community development efforts. It represents a relationship between Phillipstown and Cold Spring. They're in northern Putnam County. They are right next to each other on the map. They're truly neighbors. And what they decided to do was combine their efforts and invest their raised funds, which were $9,900, into a refrigerant management program. And so they decided, we're so close, this program will service both of our community's footprint. And so we are going to move forward with this project. So there's a lot of different ways to realize utility of these funds. And we're excited that we're able to bring that to the table. What this shows is a series of subscribers by community, how much money was raised. The impact of this chart that you see is, and this is just an example from the Hudson Valley Community Power area, and then we highlight the town of Geneva at the bottom. But what this is important to show is that these different communities that are truly neighbors have used these funds for different reasons. Some have been raising funds and driving the campaign, but haven't designated a project yet, but moving toward improvement and all in all supporting the generation of renewable energy. And so it's just really exciting to see these projects moving forward. And then of course we get an awesome chance to celebrate these successes. So beyond just raising the funds is connecting with the municipal leadership, supervisors and mayors, and printing out obnoxiously big checks and having wonderful photo opportunities to bring joy, really, like just to keep it very simple, is to bring joy to the communities, show that there's great work happening out there, to reinforce the effort, and to sometimes redirect. Also, to redirect energy in times where we're all working on surviving and adjusting to changes in the world. So this was a great opportunity here.
So I guess next we want to touch on some next steps before we dive into Q&A. If you want to, if after hearing all of this and learning as much as you can about it, you want to enroll, the place to do that is at monroecommunitypower.com, and you can navigate to the Solar and Enroll tab. There's also an awful lot of information there at Monroe Community Power that might help to answer more questions or clarify some things. In addition, and we'll mention this a few times, you can call us at Roctricity, and our telephone number is there, 585-244-0244. And so with that, we'll jump into some Q&A. And the first stage we want to do here is to show you some of the frequently asked questions that we get. And these might be questions that are sort of forming in your head right now. And we'll talk through those. And then after that, we'll open it up for questions from attendees to the webinar. And when we get there, the way to do that is to enter your questions into the Q&A. And if you don't see a toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you might have to move your mouse around a little bit there, and that toolbar should pop up, and you'll see the Q&A button. And you could just type your question in there. So let's dive into a few of these frequently asked questions about community solar. Can I participate in the CCA and community solar? Yes, you can participate in these both at the same time. However, as I noted, we're not rolling out the CCA program just yet, but don't think that because we're going to do that in the future, you shouldn't enroll in community solar now. You can participate in both of them, and you get the full benefit of both programs being involved in both of them. And then, can I have an ESCO and community solar? So an ESCO is an energy services company. This is a third-party supplier, and many people will sign up with an ESCO on their own for various reasons. They might be attempting to save money or to source renewable energy on their own. And the answer is yes, you can have a third-party supplier and sign up for community solar. The third-party supplier is very much akin to the CCA route in this regard, but you can have both of these at the same time also. What you can't have is two different community solar subscriptions going at the same time. So what if I were to have solar on my roof or property, or you're subscribed to a solar farm? Now, Vic sort of covered this earlier on. You cannot be participating in two different net metering programs at the same time. And if you have rooftop solar, you're very likely net metering that if you're connected to the grid. And similarly, if you're signed up for one community solar program, you can't participate in a second one. How many bills do I receive? So you will, signing up with this program, you will receive 2 bills. And Victor talked a little bit about this. You'll continue to see your RG&E bill. And what'll change a little bit on your RG&E bill is that you'll see the credits appear on there. And those credits will reduce your RG&E bill. And then you'll get a second bill from Ampion. And that bill will be your obligation to pay for those credits at 90 cents on the dollar. So you would be paying 90 cents on the dollar for the credits. And the goal is to make those credits match up with your entire bill. Now that's a bit of a challenge. And so often they'll, the developer, in this case Ampion, will back off of that just a little bit so that they don't ever risk forfeiting any credits with the utility. But it should cover pretty close to all of your bill to reduce the entire bill by 10%. But we generally tend to say that it's going to be more like 8 to 10% because it's hard to actually hit the entire bill. So how much will I save? Well, up to 10%. So if they do a really good job of targeting your consumption and your consumption is fairly steady, we should be able to get pretty close to 10%. But as I mentioned, that it might be reduced a bit from 10% because it's very difficult to hit the nail on the head there. And what if I don't use all the credits on my bill in a given month? Well, yeah, the credits carry over. If you use a particularly small amount of energy in one month and you have more credits than you need, those excess credits will carry to the next month, so you can use them in a subsequent billing cycle. Am I paying the $50 to the sustainability fund? No, that's coming from Joule. And so you won't see any separate line item on your bill for the $50. That's coming from the customer acquisition funds from the development of the project. That's the partnership between Joule and Ampion. So the answer is no there. And I think Vic touched on this a little bit too. Are you installing power lines directly to my house from the solar farm? No, these programs make use of the grid infrastructure that's already there, the grid infrastructure that's being managed by RG&E. And RG&E is still responsible for managing that infrastructure. If you have a power outage, it's RG&E that you call still, and they will respond as they have always done. So those are our frequently asked questions, and looks like we've got questions coming in on the Q&A now.
So Ben, I'm gonna go ahead and ask you these questions, and then we can have a conversation about it, and we can open it for anyone to answer.
That sounds good. I'm going to encourage Sue Hughes-Smith to jump in too here, because she's fielded a lot of these questions as we've been implementing the program.
So I'm actually going to start with this one that it kind of encompasses a couple of them. So just first and foremost, is the 10% RG&E discount off the total bill or just the electric usage fee?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And that's a particularly good question because we've talked a little bit about CCA in some past meetings, and the community choice aggregation program that I touched on at the very beginning, the one that we're not rolling out right now, that is really targeting just the supply on your bill. Well, this is different. This is the second program, Community Solar, and we're really targeting, I say targeting carefully, we're targeting the entire bill. It's hard to, as I mentioned, it's hard to hit the nail on the head there, but we are targeting the entire bill and expect to see savings in the 8 to 10% range on the entire bill.
So that definitely does address, targeting the entire bill addresses another question. So, is the RG&E bill equal to distribution costs versus the solar farm bill equal to supply costs? But we're targeting the entire bill there. So the savings is on that. It's not really a division between the two. is the credits that apply for the entire bill. I want to engage and ask Bill and Sue, both of you, to explain something in a different way, because I did explain it, but the statement came through and I want to offer a different format for the answer. It's the first one. I know everyone could see it too, 10% savings on your bill on average. I think you may mean more like 10% on each credit you receive. I think it may be more like, I'm adding extra words in there, sorry. Maybe more like 5 to 10% annual savings on your bill before taxes. Can we expand on that a little bit from a different?
I think what you're saying, Vic, is maybe you don't like my answer so much, so maybe we should hear someone else say it. Sue?
Right. So the goal is to provide customers with 10% savings on your electric bill, your total electric bill. That's the goal. And the program is trying to get as close to that as possible. And it's tricky because solar production varies and energy usage varies. So given that the goal is 10% and it's 10% annually, and that is important to note because the productivity of the solar field does vary from month to month. So while you'll see a variation in the amount of solar savings each month, the goal is that 10% over the year. Ben, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you did a good job there. I know the problem though. I'm an engineer, so sometimes my answers, no, not everyone relates to my answers. I appreciate your adding.
And truth be told, I think I didn't do a good job at describing it either. So I figured a team effort is always the best way to go about it. I just answered in text a question about if we're associated with Horseshoe Solar. We are not, nor do we support Horseshoe. Let's see. How long is the subscription contract? This contract is 25 years. They sometimes will flux between 20 and 25 years. This one happens to be a 25-year contract.
But people don't have to participate for 25 years, right?
You do not. No, you do not.
At any time, there's no fee to opt out. So if you want to do this for 4 years, great. If you want to do it for 1 year, whatever you want to do, it's available to you for 25 years.
This is there's a question at the bottom that relates to this dialogue, which is, what are the reasons why people would not either decide to subscribe or choose to leave? And so our experience throughout the state is this, the two bill structure is daunting. And even though we're working toward, or is being worked on, combining those into one centralized billing structure, which would be amazing and on its way, sometimes it's just discouraging to have to manage two different things. Even with the savings that are embedded into the relationship of the two, that's a good reason. The other thing in transparency is that for some of these, there are credit requirements that are required here. If people aren't comfortable with that, they encourage a auto payment structure that you do not have to participate in, but some folks will come up against the requirement to put in that information and do the auto pay and just say, I don't want to move further than this. I'm not comfortable with putting my information online, but that is not necessary. There are other ways to set up payment and work with the company around that. But those are reasons that we see the most of for folks who decide not to participate and move forward in completing an enrollment process. Are there other ones, Ben and Sue, that you could think about?
Yeah, so there's one here. What can we expect a solar farm share to cost? So that's a great question because some of these community solar efforts do require a buy-in for a share in the project. Not the case here. In this case, you can sign up for free. There's no buy into the project or purchase of a share. You simply sign up and begin receiving the savings.
Hey, Ben, I'd love to take this question about what is a refrigerant management program, which is a great question. So refrigerants are essentially the gases that are inside of anything that is cooling, like your refrigerator or an air conditioner or a dehumidifier. there's some fluid or gases that are inside the coils that help to cool things. It usually costs us money to dispose of those products properly. And so the refrigerant management program, I believe, as Victor explained to me, was that the communities decided to use the funds in order to absorb that cost. So that it encourages people to take those items to be properly disposed of instead of trying to hide them in their trash cans. Did I get that right, Victor? Did you need to add anything?
No, that was it. That was it. And it's the the overall process is that when you have large communities getting rid of refrigerants, just to keep it very simple, getting rid of refrigerants or existing in an industrial area where those companies were dealing with refrigerants, whether it was frozen foods and the like, those companies closed down, they're not required to clear those things out. So those two communities happen to be in an industrial footprint where there were a few or enough refrigerant companies that had left. And so part of that was these leaching, aging machines and systems existed, and it was the responsibility of the municipality to deal with it. Compound that with residential waste and moving on, it behooved them to start focusing on how to deal with their refrigerant waste. And this was a good solution for that.
So, okay, I'll pick another question off this list. I'm curious whether you know some of the reasons why people do not enroll in community solar. Well, one of the reasons is they don't hear about it. You know, they just don't know that this program is available. And so we would ask for help in the community to reach out, tell your friends and neighbors about the program. There's no downside that we can see to signing up. You save money and you help to transition to renewable energy. But yeah, it's challenging to get the word out. So, you know, we're holding these meetings, and there's a lot of social media avenues out there to get information, and you can tune into the Monroe Community Power website. But anything you can do to tell your friends and neighbors in the community about the program, that's really helpful for the program, and it helps them as well.
Hey, Ben, how about this one about how many customers the 4 solar farms hold and what happens when they fill up?
Well, Vic, you might be able to answer the first part of that question about, because I'm not sure how big those projects actually are, but I know that if they fill up, that Joule continues to work on acquiring relationships with additional developers. So if they happen to fill up in the short term, we would be able to accommodate those additional customers just at a future date. I think that's a ways out. We would be very fortunate if we had enough participation to fill them all up.
And prospecting new solar partners and those solar partners focusing on supporting their solar developers are constantly underway. So we're looking, we're engaging, we're communicating, and making sure whomever we are looking to engage falls into the qualifications that our municipal partners are looking to provide. So that's an ongoing conversation. When these fill up, that's what happens. The first part of that is a little harder because some of them are different sizes. It's not a one size fit all, but that was one of the numbers that I provided earlier on in the presentation. On average, these solar farms are between 400 and 800 household rooftops. So if you consider your household rooftop being equivalent to your residential account footprint, again, that varies, but we're looking at that type of framework, somewhere between 400 and 800 households. So that's a good way, at least, to think about it. I know it's a window of numbers, but it's a good way to start. Now, these numbers I can also collect, provide. We can report it. We can. So this isn't the end of our conversation.
And that's per farm, Victor, right? So there's 4, and there's 4
Thank
farms.
you.
So we're like 3,200 right now, and more hopefully coming online and
Exactly.
Access. Great.
Perfect. Yep. Exactly right.
Okay, so there's another question here. Is the energy from the solar company subsidized, and by whom? So yeah, there is subsidy, and there's subsidy in every form of energy that you might consider purchasing.
Yeah, thanks for making that note, Ben.
Yes, and with solar, the state provides subsidies for solar developers to build the solar facility. And often the way net metering works is often viewed as a subsidy as well. Now, there's a lot of philosophical discussions that can go on there, but that is often viewed as a subsidy. But again, any form of energy that you choose to purchase, it has some measure of subsidy in it. And there's a lengthy discussion that could be had there too. And I'm imagining, I can see Sue is shaking her head ready to engage on that one, because yeah. So I think we'd maybe just leave that question at that, but the answer is yes.
Hey, I see there's a question about Clean Choice Energy, that someone's receiving some mailings from Clean Choice Energy, and that is an ESCO. And on the one hand, I don't want to give anyone recommendations whether or not they want to go with a particular energy supply company or not. Though having just used that one myself, I just would advise some very careful reading of their fine print. So that does not interfere, though, with a community solar program. So we're talking about a different type of program this evening. So if someone has an ESCO or has chosen, to purchase their wholesale electricity from a particular company, you can still participate in community solar. But I'm happy to talk with you, Gail, if you want to call Roctricity's number, if you want to talk a little more about the difference there, I'm happy to do so.
I think that one at the top there is for you, Victor. So I'll just read it so everybody knows what the question is. But it says, first, I'd like to really voice my support in this program and other sustainability efforts for the town of Pittsford. And can you please discuss briefly the process, including any thinking regarding transparency, priority, and allocation of the sustainability funds earned through this program? And I think probably, the discussion about how the projects that might be targeted with the funds are selected. I think that would be helpful to understand, Vic.
Right. This is, so I can explain from our angle. The answer is actually quite easy, but it's also not as fulfilling as you may want it to be. We work directly with the municipal leaders. So we would work with Supervisor Smith and start to look at different possible projects. Now, each municipality does things in a different way. There are a collection of projects that may already exist that need sometimes a little bit of a nudge, may use a little money or an upgrade and or just to get off the ground. The other way that we've done it is we've had communities that decided to engage in the charrette or do a voting system throughout the community that we've done online. But what we do is we really stay in lockstep and we stay in tow with our municipal leaders, and we decide, they decide and let us know how best they would like to pursue either utility of the existing funds that are accumulating or pursue the idea of what best to use the funds for. That's the best way to answer it. So, but that is the process within which that's the process that we use to go about getting to the go for these sustainable projects. Our idea is we try to focus, and I'm with you there. We try to focus on, to the best of our ability, doing something that is renewable energy based.
And Vic, let me touch on that a bit from the town's point of view. At town board, we had discussed what are we going to do with the funds for the sustainability fund? What's the project or project's going to be? And we're referring that to our environmental advisory board for them to give some thought to that, to bring it back to the town board. And at that point, we'll have discussion. We will be soliciting public input from Pittsford residents all along the way and throughout the process, so we can come up with something that we know that we have the community behind as a good use for the sustainability fund.
That's great, Bill. And I do want to note that Mayor Corby is also on the line. I don't know, Bob, if you want to chime in at all. I think I've unmuted you. Or maybe I haven't. But...
Oh, maybe we'll just give him a minute. If you do get connected there and Bob want to chime in, just let us know.
Oh, yep.
May I speak to that, Sue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Lily Lanphier, Board of Trustees for the Village of Pittsford. I know that Bob wanted to point out that we have had some preliminary discussions about it, and that we will be seeking public input regarding the use of the funds, the potential use of the funds. And one of the projects that we are currently discussing is a nursery for the newly formed park at the town of Pittsford and Village of Pittsford have formed at the village's edge. And the idea is to build a nursery and retain and return native species to this park, Meadowland and Hardwood Nursery. So that is one, and I know Bob would speak very eloquently regarding these plans, but definitely we will be seeking public input and we'll have meetings specifically targeted to this subject as to how we would use these sustainability funds. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Ms. Lanphier. Thanks. I did note there are a couple people who wanted to know if the solar credits, right, that they're targeting 10% of the bill, if that would include their natural gas part of the bill. I don't know, Victor.
Oh,
Ben,
okay. I thought you were going to go ahead and answer that because I know you know the answer.
Well, I did, but I thought we were like reading the questions to each other.
So yeah, no, the 10% off is really targeting just the electric portion of the bill and won't impact the natural gas portion of your bill.
And the other question is enrollment open now? And the answer there is yes, it is open now. You do not have to wait till 2021.
You've actually seen enrollments coming through for all of the communities. So, or at least begin. They have to complete the process, but yeah, we see activity happening, which is great.
And here's a really interesting question. Is the program available in Irondequoit in Greece? Victor,
So,
you
yeah, no, it's a great question. It is available in Irondequoit. Irondequoit is one of the communities that is launching at the same time and promoting the program at the same time as the Pittsford's town and village. Now, and Greece is within the Monroe County footprint. So it is available for residents of those communities to enroll in the program. Here's a small nuance to it. Since the existing communities that are launching the program are actively participating in the program, we give preference to development of the sustainability fund to those communities. That's Irondequoit, that's the Pittsfords, right? A Greece resident can access the benefits of the community solar program, the savings, the support of the renewable generation program. The $50 is designated to one of the 3 communities that is actively participating. So they would have to enroll, but they would have to choose one of the 3 that are there to designate the $50 to support one of their sustainability efforts or projects. It's the design of the project.
So, okay, there's another question here. This is very similar to an earlier question that I answered, so I'll let you answer this one, Sue. Why would anyone not want to do this?
Right. Well, I mean, it seems like a really good deal. And I think it's great to take advantage of solar energy and of net metering programs. The reasons people typically don't subscribe to community solar projects, reasons people give are that they are uncomfortable having kind of an automatic payment. And I know Victor mentioned that there are arrangements that can be made for that. And some people simply don't like getting a second bill and having that to deal with. So that's the most common answers that are given to that.
This is a really, really important question here. What is the privacy of the information provided to do this? I think I understand what the question is related to, but here's how I'm going to answer it. And if I'm not answering the question that you're asking, then put another question in and we'll adjust it. But what I'm going to speak to is how we ensure privacy for the enrollment process. And any PII, any private information for any private citizen, any small business, goes through a secured website that's managed by the solar provider in their enrollment process. Our relationship to the enrollment process when you subscribe to these programs does not give us access to that information. As we help and lead through enrollment, and what it allows us to do is see where any given resident and small business is along their journey to enroll in the process. But all of the information is secure in one location. We cannot access it in any way, nor can any of our partners, anyone here. So that may not have been the question, but I think it's a great share of information now to just emphasize the security of information in the enrollment process.
Hey, a question came in where there's still some confusion over the two bills. So, right, so RG&E's bill is for the electricity that you're drawing on and off the grid. And the solar developer is operating under a different set of rules. And I know Ben can do a better job here. So, and the solar developer is going to send information to RG&E about the productivity of the solar that month and how much of that productivity should be allocated to your account. And with that information on your RG&E bill, at the bottom of that bill, you will see a statement that says something like CDG value stack credit. Because the state of New York has come up with a not straightforward, simple way to value these different solar projects. So the value stack is that formula. And what you get is a dollar reduction, not like the $1, but what the amount of reduction is in dollars. So you'll see whatever, -15 or -10 or whatever it is for that month. So that was the value of the participation in the solar farm. But the solar developer needs to be paid for that production. So they will send you a second bill that will be approximately 90% of the cost of those credits that you just got on your RG&E bill. That's how I understand it. Hopefully that helps. And Vic and Ben, feel free to correct anything you think.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Sue. And it's important to point out there's another variable there that is hard to control, that makes it hard for the developer to hit your electric bill exactly, and that is that the value stack varies a little bit from month to month. So that means the value of the electricity produced by the solar field varies a little bit from month to month.
Right. So the second bill cost is the cost for the value of the solar energy, and it is paying the solar developer for the solar energy. And it's 90% of the savings that you saw on your other bill. That's what makes it confusing, is that the state of New York has the rule structure that you're getting the savings on your RG&E bill, but not the cost on your RG&E bill. And so you have to pay the cost of the solar through the second bill, and it will be less than the savings.
You ever notice how it seems to get more confusing the more you explain it?
Right, I know, yeah. So I'm just gonna suggest that maybe you give us a call. If it's still confusing, give us a call, because I think there are a couple other types of questions here we might wanna get before we get to, it's almost 7 o'clock. I don't know how tight.
There was a question about the cost of maintenance of the fields. As these solar farms age, who's responsible for maintenance of them? That cost it falls on the solar farm itself. That cost is never transferred to the subscriber or the municipality. So that is maintained by the solar farm. That does not end up coming out of your pocket.
Here's another privacy question. We haven't had this one before, so that's a real interesting one.
I like this one.
Yeah, right. Will someone's RG&E account information be shared with other entities that would then trigger mailings? What, Victor, you want?
Not at all. The only correspondence that you will receive is from the solar farm that you're subscribed to, period. And maybe us, Joule or Roctricity, but that's it. There, you know, just to be honest. But outside of, and this would not be marketing mailings. This would not be, hey, we'll invite you to some parties, maybe to celebrate. But honestly, no. This material, this information is not sold. It is not public access. And by public access, I also mean to our entities either. This is information that is maintained by the solar farm for the purposes of enrolling you in this program to gain these benefits. The most that we're able to do is communicate with you to ensure quality assurance on your side and in response to your inquiries to us. But there's no marketing outside of that is outside of our house, if that makes sense.
Does anybody object to staying on a bit longer to answer the, I see we have a few remaining outstanding questions. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
That'd be
We're
great.
here to answer the questions, so we'll stay as long as it takes. I see one there by Matt O'Connor. I guess we'd start by saying, hello, Matt. But also let's dive into this. This is another question, I guess, about there being enough capacity, really. What happens if a lot of people sign up? Will we overrun the capacity that is currently available? And that, of course, is really hard to tell because we don't know for sure how many people will, in fact, sign up. We hope it's a lot. And Joule has, and I'll let you speak to this, Victor. Joule has gone out and procured agreements with solar developers in anticipation of the amount of signups that we might get. But I'd just say that I kind of hope that happens. I kind of hope that we generate so much interest that people sign up and we don't have enough, because what that does is that sends a message to the market. You know, solar developers have traditionally had a very difficult time with customer acquisition. And so if we run into that problem, then that's going to send a message to the market that they need to be building these solar fields faster. And that will encourage, more effectively encourage a transition to renewable energy. But I might let you add anything you can there, Victor.
Yeah, from a marketing perspective, a marketing uptake, when we do outreach to these communities, we see somewhere between 2 and 3% uptake of our total outreach. This makes sense when I say that in order to saturate the market for your question, it would require for at least 3 of the 4 communities that are launching right now, 2 of the 3 communities that are launching right now, to completely enroll everyone within the community. And then we would see a saturation of the system and say, uh-oh, what happens next? On average, you'll see somewhere between 2 to 5% of an entire populace enroll and support the program. So that hasn't been the case with any given initiative like what we're doing. When you hear of solar farms closing out or filling up, which is a great thing to hear, it is because those solar farms are very close to filling up to begin with when it's brought to our attention that they are available to subscribe to. But what we're walking into right now, there is availability. We would have to truly sell our entire communities to get to a point of saturation where we would have a huge question mark over what's the next step. So we're in a very good place here.
So this one's an easy one. Does Ampion billing allow payments through credit cards? And I believe that is true. Yes, they do.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost place on what question we're on, to be honest.
Yeah, and I continue to see some confusion about the 2 bills and the savings. I don't know if we've covered that enough, or if we need to talk a little bit more about that. The credits really are aimed at the entire bill, and then you will see 10% off of that when you get the Ampion bill. So the savings should be 10% of your entire bill, or nearly so. 8 to 10% of the entire electric bill is the target.
And your RG&E bill looks the same as it does today, except at the bottom of the bill under like miscellaneous, there'll be one line for CDG value stack savings. And you'll see a subtraction there. I don't know what the Ampian bill will look like, but maybe we can get that for our next meeting. There's a question for town of Pittsford. How do they find out more about the town's environmental advisory board? I don't know.
You can go to the town website, and it's in the government section of the town website, and it will tell you about the environmental advisory board, when it meets, what it does, what its charge is. And if you have further questions, you can pick up the phone and give me a call at town hall, and I'll be glad to talk to you about and answer your questions about that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just reading through some more of these questions.
I think Mrs. Wade did a nice job here. Is this the right way to think about the billing? You get credit on your RG&E bill for the portion of your electricity that was generated by the solar farm. That's pretty close. You're getting credited for your part, yes. And then Ampian bills you for that part at a 10% discount. That's the basic gist of it. Yeah.
That is right.
Yep.
So I see there's one's just come up here. I'm moving through the online sign up right now, and the term says 5 years with 90 days for early termination. That conflicts with what you said earlier. I haven't gone through that form entirely. Victor, do you know what that process actually does?
So the 90 days is, I'm going to go in reverse with this. The 90 days is just the text that's put into place for allowing people to leave the system. There are no fees related to anything, but back before they brought all of the fees and the cancellation costs off, or the enrollment costs off, they would allow 90 days to get in and out of the system on either side. So that's that. The 5-year mark was something that I heard was possible, that they may shift the contract down to a 5-year cycle. I didn't know that they were actually going to execute that and do it. So when I saw that, it doesn't surprise me to see it. What it allows is more flexibility with what they're doing. But it's more on the solar provider's relationship to the solar farm side of what they're doing. The length of the contract for us, being as there's no cost to enroll and no cost to get out of it, doesn't affect us on our side. But what I want to do is I want to confirm that, and I'll give an update. I'll provide an update on that. I was aware that they were considering that shift.
And if I understand you correctly, Victor, what you're suggesting is a solar developer might be guaranteeing that someone has access to it for 5 years, and then they would maybe reach out to them and make sure they still wanted to continue.
To provide more, what's happening is that it's more of a consumer relations dynamic is how I heard it when I was on that call a couple of weeks ago. And what they were saying is that saying 20 years to 25 years is scaring a lot of people away from participating in a good program now. So they wanted to reduce the length of the contract and give more variability and flexibility to it. But the services and the benefits that are being provided are still constant and the same. But it allows people to engage shorter, see the benefits sooner, and say, I understand what this is, without the concern of the 2-decade mark. Mm-hmm. That's how I understood it, but I want to, I'm going to confirm that this shift happened because it looks like it did. Mm-hmm. And Kendra, thank you for going through that process. That's awesome.
So there's another question here that might be good to clear up a little bit. It says, I currently subscribe to NextAmp Community Solar. It seems to me this plan introduces 2 additional parties into the formula that must in some way generate a profit. The town and Joule. NextAmp also tells me I will realize 10% savings. What's the advantage to me aside from being a good citizen? So I guess one thing that's probably worth pointing out here is that typically solar companies like NextAmp spend a fair amount of money on customer acquisition. And that has actually been really challenging in New York State for solar developers to acquire customers. They are willing to share the money that they typically set aside for customer acquisition with programs like this, because this is an effective way to bring customers to their program. So if you look at it from their standpoint, they are not only willing, but often eager to share that money, which is the money that helps to keep Joule in the game, and to provide the sustainability funds for the municipality. And as far as the advantage to you, well, it's important to look closely at the fine print and the details of the various offers that are out there. The mechanics of a NextAmp community solar and the mechanics of this plan are very similar in the way that they work. What might be different, though, is we saw a question earlier about the cost to buy into the program. This program has no cost to buy in. Sometimes there's an exit fee if you want to leave. This program has no exit fee. And there are some additional consumer protections put in place through the process of Joule vetting the solar providers that are involved in this program.
NextAmp is a great company. We've worked with them in different communities, so they're very good. Without knowing the details of the contract that you're subscribed to or subscribed under, what we do know is that as we vet the programs, we insist on a certain amount of check boxes that have to be there and available. Some of which are, there are a lot of providers who do insist on an exit fee. They, like Ben said earlier, they insist on a subscription fee, or that it's built into the life of the contract. I'm not saying that that is what you're enrolled in, saying that there are other providers who do that. And what our position is we make sure that those things are not there for the life of the engagement. And so that may be a significant part of it. And yeah, a big part of it, honestly, I said, yeah, but yes, a big part of this is that it's good citizenship if you had enrolled under this program. Now you're already with NextAmp, you're in a wonderful place. You're already realizing benefits. You're already contributing to the generation of renewable energy. You're doing wonderful work to support the world, yourself, etc. This program will provide the additional funds to support community development in a sustainable way in the future. But I think you're in the right place. NextAmp's a good company.
So how about this one, Sue? If these solar farms don't have 100% subscribers now, where is their excess power going?
That's a good question, Ben. That power, if it's interconnected to the grid, it should be flowing into the grid, no?
That's right, and it's net metered, so they're receiving credits right now, and those credits are accruing by the host account, which is the account where the solar farm is being built. And they can accrue those credits for quite a long time and carry them forward for quite a long time, but they are very eager to sign up customers. And that gets back to our early point about why they're willing to offer funds to help with these sustainability programs when they're struggling to get customers.
So Ben, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that the solar developer themselves are accruing these credits because they don't have subscribers to send them off to.
Yes, that is what happens if
the money.
Yes, if they don't have enough subscribers, they will accrue those credits at the host, what's called the host account. And of course, that just creates a backlog for them. Now they need more customers than ever if that happens. So, but if they are able to then sign up the customers, they can issue those credits that are from their accrual during that time when they didn't have customers.
That was a great question. Very interesting. Yeah. Can you reiterate the contract length for the user? So as I think I'm understanding what Victor is saying is that Ampion is describing the contract length as 5 years, but there's no cost to join and there's no cost to leave. There's no obligation to stay for 5 years. And if you want to stay for 20, that is probably going to be likely. They just are finding the promotional language of saying, oh, here's a 20 years contract to be scary for the consumers. So instead, the contract is written to appear that it's a 5-year contract, but that really isn't a hard, fast rule of any kind. You're free to enter, and you're free to leave when it's right for you. And Victor's going to double check on that, so maybe the next time we have a Zoom meeting, he can give an additional update.
That's exactly right. And that's why if you see me kind of down in my computer, I was sending an email out so I can make sure I can get those clarifying questions. I was hoping to capture it before this was up, but I don't think I will. And I will definitely provide it on our next meeting, but also I will make sure that we have it available on our websites, public, maybe add it into our FAQ that's on the website and everything else. Yeah. So we'll get it out there for sure.
Yeah. I think we're about done with questions. Do we want to invite the supervisor or Mayor Corby if he's able to?
We've got a couple of more slides to run through here.
Oh, we do. My apologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's we'll shift back to that. I noticed there are a couple of things about asking about a sample bill, and I think we just touched on maybe trying to make that available. I'm not sure that some of our videos out there now don't in fact show some of the bill, what the bills might look like. But yeah, let's try to wrap it up here pretty quickly. Moving on, some of the next steps. So again, if you want to enroll, the place to go is monroecommunitypower.com and navigate through the solar tab to enroll. You can also call us to enroll, or call us if you have other questions, 244-0244. And Vic, I don't know if you want to talk about some of these social media avenues.
There's a lot of ways that information is going to be available to everyone. We have each municipality has their own Facebook page. I'm sure they have other social media sites too. We center a lot of our communications through social media, but beyond that, the municipal website, our website that Ben just outlined, but most importantly and most directly is the number. You know, give us a call, 585-244-0244. We also have team members who are fluent in Spanish. So we're available to speak with, even as you're on this call, if you know that there are constituents and family members that would love to learn more about this, call us, ask us. We'll be able to get the answers. If we don't know, we'll know where to find them. And so just keep connected with us, put the word out there, learn more, ask us the hard questions. We'll find the answers.
Okay, well, that is it. Again, my name is Ben Freevert and I am with Rockricity. You can get in touch with us at that phone number again, 244-0244. And you might talk with me. You might also talk with Sue, whom we've heard from tonight, or one of our partners, Melissa Carlson or Margie Pete. And Vic, I don't know if you want to say anything there before we let Bill kind of close things up.
Nope, thank you so much. This has been great. These programs and the dynamics of them are not easily absorbed or understood. It takes a lot of iterations, and that's why we will be here communicating and presenting. We hope to try to schedule a couple of more community meetings just like this, to keep repeating the same information over and over again. We'll find better ways of saying it, and we'll all understand it a little bit more. But these are great programs of great benefit, and I hope that everyone takes really good consideration of it.
Great. A big thank you to our friends from Joule and Roctricity for doing this for us tonight. Thanks to Mayor Corby and Deputy Mayor and Village Trustee Lily Lanfear for your participation tonight, and to all of you who checked in to find out about our community solar program. Thank you for doing that, and I hope you'll consider this. It's a great program for Pittsford and for our residents. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night.